I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And if you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about, does Marvel Comics need a reboot? So Marvel Comics has actually never had a reboot, but they did end up having an Ultimate Universe that started with Brian Michael Bendis' run on Ultimate Spider-Man, and the Ultimate Universe ran for a long time. They eventually canceled it and had the universe essentially killed off, only to then bring it back in 2023 with Ultimate Invasion. Now you have a new Ultimate Universe currently out now that is actually doing very, very well in terms of sales for Marvel Comics. So Marvel Comics, I will always give a level of credence to as far as like praise, because they have probably seen DC Comics go through their fair share of reboots, and they were like, you know what, we're never going to do that. So I think there's two ways to look at it. Marvel does this thing even when they have their movies, or like the MCU or any of the other previous Marvel movies before the MCU ever existed. They will always consistently go through something, even if it's shit, and then eventually course correct. Whereas DC, they'll simply just do something, and if it's not going very well, they'll just completely overhaul the whole thing, actually. I mean, if you look from DC, you had obviously Crisis on Infinite Earths, which led into a reboot. Then you also had New 52. Then you also had Rebirth. Then you also had oh my god, Dawn of DC, which came out after that. And now we're in All In. Then you also had all the other attempts they've tried to make an Ultimate Universe, like Future State and all the Earth 1 books and everything. So the problem with Marvel tends to be, if you have a writer, let's just say, let's use Zeb Wells as an example, right? So I heard a lot of bad things about Zeb Wells' Spider-Man run on the Amazing Spider-Man series from Marvel Comics, right? And I read volume 1 of it. So I only read the first 5 issues. So it was okay. Wasn't that bad to me. I know there were some issues there, but keep in mind, if a run like that is that bad, and these kind of runs, these kind of creators and writers and artists span like years, you're sitting there buying these issues that are crap for this character months on end, not weeks, months on end, because these books come out essentially, once a month, actually. They're monthly titles. So when you get to a point where certain characters' runs are that bad, maybe you kind of want to reboot, because Marvel Comics does technically reboot when you go back to a number 1 issue, but that's not really a reboot. That's more like just a renumbering than anything. They're just trying to do that for a bump in sale numbers, actually, Right. Well, I'll ask you, man, do you think Marvel Comics would ever reboot, or do you think they need a reboot, actually?
I do not think they need a reboot, personally, because I believe the thing with Marvel Comics that's really good is that their lineage and it's all there. The whole thing is there, and it's been there since the beginning. The thing that I think that they would benefit from is an event that transpires through all of the comics. It has to deal with everything. Kind of, I made the analogy last time of No Man's Land for Batman. So like when No Man's Land came out, it was a year initiative where every single Bat book, Shadow of the Bat, Batman, Detective Comics, I can't remember, The Dark Knight, some of the other stuff, it all took place in this No Man's Land, right? There was nothing else. It was all that. So if they did that with Marvel, where even some of the lesser books got to take place in this event and make an impact, and then they all meet up and go against whatever the enemy is or whatever the situation is, and then from there branch off and start new storylines and say, hey, this is where you can get in on the new books because we're starting something new. Most people have a base knowledge of these characters from movies. A lot of people do. And even if you don't have that, a lot of number 1s usually kind of explain like, hey, I'm Peter Parker, I'm Spider-Man, I got bit by Radiohead, blah, 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 blah. Those things. So that would be easy to pick up on. Plus, it also gives the people that have been reading that continuity for a long time a massive event that makes you want to get all the books so you can read everything and follow it. I think that is something that Marvel could do. because DC won't do it, because that's, you know, kind of what
That's
they
kind of like
do.
their thing. Yeah.
Right. They'll
But even
reboot.
they learned recently with after Dawn of DC, one of All In's biggest selling points and what the fans kept asking for was, hey, don't reboot. Because the
Right.
thing is, DC need to eventually learn this. When you keep rebooting, the money and the time and the investment that fans put into buying the single issue floppies to eventually get to the trades, to get to the omnibuses and all those collected editions that you guys know and love, they feel like all their time was wasted because it all doesn't matter. You essentially just invested a whole bunch of money into a character's run, where in reality, it still exists, but it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things when you're going to a whole different, continuity.
Right. Right.
That's
And that's why I think
yeah,
the massive event would work, because it
yeah.
still gives,
Whereas,
you know, and
with
again,
Marvel, it's a different thing where you have to kind of sit there and go through a bad character's run. And it could be, guys, it's not just one time it could happen. It could be many times. They could have a shitty writer on a run and you're just sitting there going through like, man, I could hang myself or I could jump into an oncoming truck in traffic.
yes.
Could be one of those two things. What Marvel also needs to do is utilize their Marvel-verse book. So a Marvel-verse book is a little small size, pocket size book like this. It's a little bit smaller than a compact comic where it's centered on one character. They need to utilize the Marvel-verse format for like the way DC compact comics are. That way they can kind of get people into certain characters or stories at a starting point and go from there. Treat it like how DC does their finest line right now. You're just getting in on a jumping in point where it's just good for you to be at that point when it's kind of a good place to start with the character. They need to start innovating on certain ways to get inside, because Marvel's a little bit different with DC as far as like runs, because Marvel has so many renumberings more consistently than DC. You're like, where's the starting point with this guy's run, with this guy's run? Just
I mean, X-Men is just, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That right there, there's volume 1 through 375, volume 2 1 through whatever, but that's still legacy number 376 through blah,
yeah.
And you're just like, Jesus Christ, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I found that out by having to get those books from Chris Claremont that I wanted, you know, and then getting up to his run with Jim Lee where it started again.
Epic collections have been good for Marvel, because a lot of people go, well, see, for me, I think back issues are a little bit of an overrated thing. I would prefer them to be just in a collected edition format, which Marvel does. I will give them credit for that. They have Epic collections. So Epic collections are basically starting points for legacy characters to kind of read their stories in order as they put the volumes out. Now, the key with that is that with a character like Iron Man, they haven't actually did every single one of his volumes in order, but the other characters they have. So if you wanted to start reading Spider-Man, you could literally buy the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1 Epic Collection. Start there, and they still release them. You can buy them all in order as they come out. That's a great way of not only getting back issues, but you are, getting all the characters' stories in order. Because I know a lot of people want to get stuff in order. That's another great way. You can get omnibuses as well, because a lot of people just don't know where to start. It's not that hard to get into comics. You just have to know where to begin. And to be fair, everyone needs to understand this. When you're new to something, you'll always be kind of like overwhelmed. You're always going to never know the best places to start,
Yes.
But I wouldn't just not get into comics because you feel like it's too big. That's stupid. That's literally ridiculous. You're always going to be at a starting point somewhere. Now, there's good places to start, and there's places where you're going to get very, very confused. If there's since we have the internet now, and I mentioned this last time when we talked on the Deja Vu episode, the Lost episode, just joking. The internet exists now. Utilize the internet to your extent. You need to type in, okay, let's do Spider-Man, for example. Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man reading order. You will get reading orders out there. People literally put out reading orders for these characters now. There's no excuse unless you literally just don't want to do it. That's the only thing at that point. Or money.
Yeah.
If you don't have a lot of money, that's why I always say Epic collections. They don't cost that much money. $40. You see if you like that character. You got a whole big book, meaty books, tons of issues. You see if you want to invest in that character again. Don't put in too much money up front, but you can see where a character begins, and you can get there if you really want to. There's no excuse. The internet is infinite with possibilities on how to show you where you can get to comic books. But yeah, what do you want to say, man?
There's definitely ways to get into it. It is going to be overwhelming at first because you're dealing with two companies that have such a rich history and such a very long line of books. So it can be overwhelming. Plus, like with reading orders, it's kind of hard because usually how someone might now get into a character is by seeing them on the big screen. And if you go and you go, say you saw Batman The Dark Knight and you wanted to read stuff that was like that, and if you did look up the reading order and you go read Batman, Detective Comics number 27 from 1939, you are going to be sadly upset. You're going to be like, what the hell is this? So there are things and websites to use that you can ask and look, say, what is Batman's best run? Or you can get the encyclopedias, or like something like Batman's 100 greatest moments.
Encyclopedias are great too. Yeah.
Yes, which is
ultimate
fantastic.
guide for characters where you can just look through a lot of the characters' history, entire history from like it could be 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s to see like, where do you want to start? Because a lot of people, maybe they don't want to begin at the very beginning, like people like me and you would like to. Maybe you want to begin in the dark age, as the DC, as the Batman encyclopedia called it. Actually, you can start in the dark age, but where do you want to start? This thing is. But you're gonna always initially start at somewhere. A lot of people go, I don't want to do it because I'm gonna be like new to it and there's too much. It's all you yourself will overwhelm yourself with how much you want to do that for. If you overwhelm yourself with too much, that's your fault. That's not a comic issue. That's just you're stupid.
Well, I'm not gonna call him stupid. Like,
but I can. I have that liberty.
You can call him stupid, but I'm just gonna say that
your mom's a whore.
Just hey. Oh, their mom or my mom?
Oh, well, my mom's dead, so not getting that one.
So, good Lord.
Good. Dark humor at its best.
So, I mean, there's just things like that you can use the internet and just ask very specific questions, like what comic book run is closest to the X-Men movies?
You can literally do
what is
top
the top
five X-Men runs.
You can look up those individual runs, and usually like the online encyclopedia has like a quick synopsis of what it's about, the characters that are in it, who's the villain, those type of things. I'll give you guys a tip.
LeagueofComicsGeeks.com on the website, just making an account is insanely free. You can even see what new comic book books are coming out. When you click on a character's comic book, they can even take you from when that specific series started for comic books as well. And if you don't want to do like the whole single issue thing, on the website, you can find reading orders for nearly every single character. Like if you wanted a reading order for like Iron Man Epic Collections or Doctor Strange Epic Collections or anything like that, it's out there. You guys just have to utilize the internet. Don't be looking at porn. That's gay. So Marvel Comics,
well, unless you're not watching gay porn, then it's completely straight. And there is straight porn out there.
And I watch stepbrother, stepsister porn, actually. It's the best category. I'm joking, guys. Jokes make your life happy. Marvel Comics has had great success in the superhero landscape over the decades, from Spider-Man to the Fantastic Four to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel is home to an endless supply of exciting heroes and their stories. The only problem with the comics giant and its gigantic catalog of series and stories is that it is nearly impenetrable for new readers curious about the characters and stories. With so many new fans flocking to comic book shelves because of the success of the live-action film and television series of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is vitally important that Marvel's comic book branch is ready and waiting to meet the demand of this large group of eager new readers. So there's several things there that are problems there. First of all, a ton of people are not flocking to comic book shops. I wish that was a thing, because the industry, the numbers wouldn't be so bad. Keep in mind, guys, they don't show you the numbers about how many books actually they sell. We have to find that out through like ICV2, usually every single month. They don't publish the numbers. Second of all, the other thing here is what they need to do is stop pandering to random new people. Okay, new people, you can literally make stuff like I said earlier, the Marvelverse books. Okay, you can literally make collected editions to get people in. What they need to do is stop trying to find this magical well of new people that just want to get invested in the comic books. Try to keep the people you already have. There's ways of getting new people, but I feel like every single time companies try this, or we have to get new people in, then you kind of lose the people that you have there initially up front. That's what happened when they did all new, all different Marvel. Is that not what happened? They had to switch everything back. Okay. What is this idea of like, we have to get new people, so we must literally cater everything to them? It's like, how about we don't do that? How about we not do that at all? you know? And how many people really, after seeing an MCU movie, go to comic book shops and go, you know what? I want to start reading Thor. How often is that really?
I mean, I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
But not to the point where it makes a huge difference in the numbers. Plus, it's very hard with the way that comic books are, counted, because you're just counting what the provider is selling to the distributor, and it's not this guy bought this many. This person, we're just going off of comic book store buying numbers. So it's hard. I wish there was a way to count them proficiently and actually have a real number, because that would help. And
It would.
It just I think also too, like back in the day, like Wizard magazine used to be something that was like, I used to love looking forward to getting Wizard magazine, because I would go through that and see what was new, what was, what character was going to be doing what this upcoming month, all these interviews with creators and stuff like that. And it just doesn't feel like it's the same time. The media is definitely consumed differently. I'd say that more than anything has been hit by the internet. People talk about TV and all that stuff, but books and comic books especially have taken a massive hit comparatively to other things.
Yeah, I agree. Though the Marvel Comics universe is absolutely beloved by fans, new and old, well, old fans have disdain and apathy for the brand at this point, there is no denying that it has its issues. Unless readers started out in the early 60s alongside the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, chances are that most fans jumped onto the Marvel train decades into its history. What used to be somewhat easily accessible and understandable universe has now become so bogged down in its own lore and canon that new stories often feel like they're simply rehashing or reiterating aspects from a story written 3 decades ago. It's hard to develop new and exciting character arcs for heroes who have been battling ups and downs for the better part of 50 years. Okay, so I agree with some of this and I disagree with some of this. First of all, the reason why you've not seen new story arcs or a lot of stuff is because they literally hire trash fucking people. That has nothing to do with the character. They're just hiring bad people.
You also have to think, like, a lot of people are afraid, especially the people that are running the show, are afraid to go out on a limb and create a new villain or create something that's new, because that book has to sell or it could go, that book will never be written again. Yeah. So it's like they're going to use Doc Ock or the Joker, all the time. I remember back when the Joker was not used nearly as much. He would come out like once a year, and now it's like he's got his own book. He's had his own books, multiple, and it's not nearly as special anymore because of those things. We don't have those rogues galleries that are being filled up with, new monster of the month to go through. And that's why I thought, like, go ahead.
No, sorry. Keep in mind, even outside of Epic Collections and omnibuses, guys, Marvel puts out Marvel Masterworks. Those are even cheaper Epic Collections. With all the older stories, they actually do this from the very beginning. So if you want to get X-Men comics, you can literally buy X-Men Marvel Masterworks. It'll get you the very first X-Men stuff from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I just don't know what they mean there, where it's like, well, unless you were there from the beginning, you can't find it. It's like, that's literally not true. And you guys know I wouldn't defend Marvel if I didn't have to. That's literally not true. You just have to find where it's at,
Yeah. Yes. I think the Masterworks were nice because, like, they were recolored. They were stuff like that. And there's some people that want it the way that it looks back then, but there's also the people that want it to be updated, and relined and recolored and stuff like that, which is perfectly fine. You can still read it. But getting back to the no new characters things, it's hard when you have legacy-based characters that only interact with those legacy-based characters, because what you really need is, say, these weaker villains that they might do 4 out of the 5 or 6 months for the arc, and then that leads up to maybe the Penguin, or that leads up to maybe the Joker. You need to have those interspersing things where you have the focus on that character while he's maybe fighting off, a B level or a C level villain that you created, to when you get to the A villain, that makes an impact. It's like, oh, okay, wow, we haven't seen him for a long time. This should be cool. But whenever you're constantly seeing them and they switch creators, and that guy, I want to tell my Joker story. Well, we literally just had one 2 months ago. Well, I want to tell my Joker story. It's the same thing. And I think without good people on good characters, there's a lot of matching up guys who shouldn't be writing for said character. That does happen quite a bit. So I mean, you got to find the right character for the right creator to write for.
Yeah, that's the thing, is if they constantly rehire untalented people, which they've been doing for a very, very long time, or the talented people they once have just kind of get brought back because they have no other job, what can you really do, actually? Characters who have taken on multiple identities are also often confusing for new readers. Carol Danvers was once known as Miss Marvel, then she was Warbird for a bit, then Binary. I mean, non-binary. I'm just kidding. And currently she is Captain Marvel. This level of confusion is far too much for any reader who is merely curious about the medium of comic books. Yes, that's where the internet comes in. Type in, this doesn't exist, or people are massively coping when they type this in, top 5 Captain Marvel books. There you go. Yeah, I just helped you out with that. But that's not, I'm pretty sure I got 3 there. Because who the fuck reads Captain Marvel books? If someone who loved the Captain Marvel, that's massive cope. If someone who loved the Captain Marvel movie wanted to read about Carol's adventures and accidentally picked up a book where she was under the code name of Warbird, they'd be endlessly confused. Okay, they're actually treating the average person like they're idiots. And I agree, the average person's pretty fucking stupid. But there's these things called trade paperbacks that are numbered with volume numbers. Okay, yep. I hope someone grabs a book, turns it over, and sees where it's a starting point at. Okay, I hope someone's not that stupid. Also, let's be honest here, that's the worst movie to use as an example. The Captain Marvel movie sucked ass, and no one was being like, man, really got to go find more about this bitch. No one did that. That never happened at all. Because Marvel Comics, we know this recently, had a 10-issue series with this Asian bitch that was fucking writing her, and it got canceled in 10 issues because Captain Marvel can't make anything past 10 issues. But what do I know? I'm a genius, actually.
Well, I mean, yeah, Miss Marvel, it hasn't had a sustained run in a very, very long time. Captain Marvel, I think, worked well a while ago, but I think Captain Marvel does well in team-ups in comics. Mm-hmm. But there's only so much you can tell about that specific character when they're not, back on the Kree world and stuff like that. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, there's really, I'm Lady Superman. Okay, I'll go read Superman. But
what's different back in the day when you had creatives is that because the difference with that one that you're bringing up compared to what they're bringing up is, holy crap, I'm here. We're good. Don't worry, guys. We're fine. I was joking. Is when you had female characters come out, they were different from the male counterparts. Like Supergirl is vastly different from Superman. They have totally different backstories, how they interact with humans, how they obviously interact with different members of Justice League and villains and all that shit. So,
She-Hulk is a very good example. She-Hulk, like the original She-Hulk run was fantastic. I loved it.
That's why John Byrne, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe not the original, but the John Byrne run specifically was awesome. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was different. She was cool. Like, she kicked ass. She was completely different than all the other girl superheroes at the time. And when you make the show, and I just, that one lost me.
Yeah, like right there. She-Hulk has a show. She-Hulk came out to the show. Who in the world went and started picking up She-Hulk trade paperbacks because of that She-Hulk shit show that they made a few years ago? No one did, because that show was absolutely terrible. The only way people go and grab material from the characters is if, like, literally, if the material is good. If the movies or the shows are good, maybe you might get someone.
Yeah.
Those names haven't been an aspect of her character for many years, and the fact that they remain canonical and arguably important for readers to know about this is frankly a little ridiculous. Even for
Well,
longtime diehard fans of Marvel Comics, not staying caught up on every series released on a monthly basis can lead to confusion and misunderstanding of certain character relationships and dynamics. Endless crossovers and constant callbacks to a myriad of side story books make reading contemporary Marvel books difficult. Keep in mind, I don't disagree with this part, but why did people like them vilify people for pointing this out? These people, guys, would literally vilify you if you pointed these issues out. Everyone said these things. Yeah, too many crossovers. Issues that are supposed to be tie-in issues aren't labeled tie-in issues, so you wouldn't know they were a tie-in issue. Shit would happen in one book, and you get your next issue as a monthly, and shit would happen that you never even saw. Like, yeah, I agree with all that, but why did you get called a piece of shit or a bigot or a racist if you point this out? What the hell?
well, I mean, okay. So I think they used a very bad example because like they literally said in the same sentence, like Warbird hasn't been a part of her canon for so long, but then they said it was an integral part for people to read. Like that's a very bad example of having to know someone's whole canonicity. That's completely ridiculous. Like you do not have to know everything from the beginning. You don't. You do not have to. That's objectively false. Because I know enough about Captain Marvel. I didn't read anything about Warbird.
And that movie sure didn't convince you to go buy more Captain Marvel stuff.
I mean, no.
It probably did the opposite. You go like, okay, this character is probably a piece of trash. Oh God. And that is something that shouldn't be happening. Of course, longtime fans should not be pushed aside in favor of new readers. Like, yeah, no shit. But there needs to be a better middle ground between the two groups of readers. The industry cannot thrive while one group is given everything and the other is left in the dust. Yes, I agree with all that. All that I agree with. There you go. With the mainline Marvel universe in such a state of complexity and convolution, alternate reality stories like those set in the Ultimate Universe are breaths of fresh air. The original Ultimate Universe that arrived on comic book shelves in the early 2000s reinvigorated the industry, as well as fan interest in Marvel stories as a whole. Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley's game-changing Ultimate Spider-Man was one of the most well-received and beloved series that the comics giant was releasing at the time. Despite occasional controversy, fans flocked to it because it was a fresh start, a way to get in on the ground floor of a brand new look at the iconic web-slinging hero from New York. The original Ultimate Universe lasted for many years, unlike Me and My Wife, featuring a series of ups and downs for its reimagined characters. It served as definitive proof that a reboot of the Marvel Universe could absolutely work, though something as drastic as a reboot on the level of the Ultimate Universe would perhaps be too much for the mainline Marvel Comics. Yeah, that's why people treat Ultimate Universes or alternate universes differently, because they're treated like, oh, this could be like a cool little fun thing, but it's not the main continuity, so it doesn't really matter. That's why I like what DC has, or it's specifically labeled like DC Black Label, so you can get alternate stories like that. It's another good idea. But you also must keep this in mind when you get an Ultimate Universe. If you get those good stories, why can't they just do those good stories in the main universe? Because there's no real need to have an alternate universe. They could do these stories in the main universe. They just want to get a bump in sales. That's really all it boils down to. They're not doing them some big like 5-head move like mx squared plus b equals 10. We're gonna get this board here and do this. No.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at with the studio or the production being behind it, because you don't know what rules they're being told that they have to write their stories in. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the rules of Spider-Man and you must follow these things and can't go outside of this. That could be why with the Ultimate Universe they just don't have those same rules don't apply. So I mean, there's definite room for both, but I think it's, like I said, it's matching creators with the right character. You cannot just continuously put guys who are not experienced enough or well versed enough in a said character and continue to write those stories because they seem very cookie cutter and they don't grab anybody. They don't grab the audience.
That's true. Yeah. There's no denying that something similar is what was done in the 2000s would certainly shake things up in new and exciting ways. The more recent Ultimate Universe, though still quite young, has once again proven that fans are looking for something new. Books like the all-new Ultimate Spider-Man, the wonderfully exciting The Ultimates, the terrifically unique Ultimate X-Men, and the politically thrilling Ultimate Black Panther are just the tip of the iceberg of what this new Ultimate Universe could be. Only 1 year in, the Ultimate Universe is shaping up to challenge the mainline Marvel Universe as the most important story in contemporary comic book history. Fans have responded with overwhelmingly positivity toward this new universe, and that fact is evidence enough as to why the mainline universe should follow suit. Investment in characters and stories is at an all-time high with the new Ultimate Universe. If Marvel isn't careful, it could completely eclipse any interest in the bogged down mainline universe. Well, to be fair, we are reading through the Ultimate Universe right now. Tonight, well, after I get off the show, if you guys are watching this video, so you guys will see this video on my on this channel anyway, the comic book one. I'm going to review Ultimate Spider-Man, Married with Children, Volume 1 with Professor Savage Dad, and me and Last Comic Fan eventually are going to review this after our DC thing. So, and then after that, we got to review Ultimate X-Men, and then and we have the Ultimates. The Ultimates trade paperback is dropping this week along with Absolute Power. So we're gonna have, hey man, we're gonna get some more books, dude. Oh yeah, no, dude. Right? Fist bump, bro. Fist bump, bro. Fist bump. There you go. See, yeah, white power.
Hey now. Wait
a minute. I'm kidding, guys. Don't worry. White people do it the best. It's just one of these things where I hope it doesn't turn out to be like the old Ultimate Universe where they kept releasing like, oh, it's Ultimate X-Men, Hulk, and Thor, blah, 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 but people only really cared about Spider-Man. Hope that never happens again, because then I came to a point where they just stopped the entire thing, you know? But it looks like sales are pretty good where they're at right now, but we'll have to see if it's long-lasting. And DC was like, you know what? We finally got our Ultimate Universe off the ground that we've been trying to do for 1,000+ years. Though not every comic book fan is entirely on board with full reboots and reimaginings of iconic characters, it is very difficult to argue that it wouldn't make for easier reading, something that absolutely needs to be brought into account when discussing new readers and the future of the comic book medium as a whole. A reboot of the Marvel Universe does not mean completely doing away with everything that fans have loved for ages. That's why you don't do it. That's why you simply just get new creative teams and then just make a better run for any character you're trying to do a run on. And it certainly doesn't mean ignoring key components of characters and their stories in the name of simplifying things. A reboot just means that the excess fat on the meat of the Marvel Universe could be shaved off a bit, and more people could be included in the wonderful world of reading Marvel Comics. DC Comics has had varying success with its numerous attempts at full reboots. They've certainly tried a lot of them. New 52, oh my god, man! Hope you guys weren't there. That was a crazy time.
It started out really popular, but then it went downhill real quick. I'd say Rebirth was a better example.
And then Tom King happened.
Well, that and they if Johns would have been able to get out Doomsday Clock in a timely manner, I still think it would have worked. But they were impatient, and then they said no, and then he kind of was like, fuck you, and then it kind of went to shit. So,
a fact that Marvel could easily take advantage of. Since there is so much documented history of the trials and tribulations associated with DC's attempts at universe reboots, Marvel should be able to navigate the tricky process with much less trouble. Though DC's New 52 was somewhat controversial amongst fans, it's hard to deny that it was home to tons of incredible stories. Yeah. Why can't you just make these incredible stories without a reboot then? Well, you know, you could literally get these things without having to completely overhaul your brand. Why is it always one way or the other way with some people? Why can't you just get the way without having to do an overhaul? It's like if a wife was like, hey, I want you to bang my back door.
Is that the invisible wife that you got a divorce from?
Oh my god, he didn't help me with my joke. God,
I mean, you had that failed marriage with the invisible person.
Invisible woman?
whatever her name was.
Even though it took away from some of the past DC works that fans love so much, the New 52 also provided so much new content for fans to fall in love with. A more successful DC reboot was in the wake of Crisis on Infinite Earths, where things changed more subtly, and it was more centered around streamlining stories and characters rather than trying to shift the tone and mood of a myriad of books in the name of unity. The core of a given book should absolutely remain intact, rebooted or not, and that is what Marvel could learn from the past choices of their distinguished competition. Okay, so problem with that there. Okay, so Crisis on Infinite Earths eventually led to a thing where all the universes were like unified, right? It wasn't like the Anti-Monitor and shit, right? From what I remember?
Yes, Crisis on Infinite Earths, the multiverse became one universe.
Yes.
And then Infinite Crisis was them bringing back the multiverse, and Final Crisis was them remembering.
I still don't get why they have to do that with the reboot. You could just not do any of that reboot shit. They could do what you said earlier. Literally, big event. This is what it is going forward. You know? That's all you have to do.
I think the thing though is like when they say event, right? They don't ever bring in all of the books. They very rarely do that. Like you have Venom War or you know, King in Black had a lot of them, a lot of the popular
King
characters.
Black. Is that my dad? Crazy. You mean every black neighborhood out there?
I don't know your heritage. Are you a king?
Yes, thank you. I'm actually called the Master Swag.
All right, your
Mic drop. There we go. Mic drop. He set me up for that joke, and I landed it.
There you go. You're the king of swag. So,
you patronizing me?
Patronizing, tomato,
tomato. Yeah.
But I think they have to bring all of the books. You know what I mean? They have to bring all of them. That's the way that it would make it work. You know, it has to. That because if you don't, then when you reboot, does anybody care about, you know, like Booster Gold or, you know, the other characters that aren't? There you go. You know, or you know, some of the lesser Marvel characters and things like that nobody cares. You know, about like the mutant Beak. Does anybody care about Beak? No, nobody gives a shit about Beak. He's a chicken.
A universal reboot for Marvel Comics just makes sense. And it's something that fans could certainly see being on the horizon. Though Jonathan Hickman's 2015 event, Secret Wars, one of Marvel's best events in its entire history, acted as a sort of attempt at soft rebooting the universe and adjusting canon for the sake of streamlining, it wasn't quite enough. The aftermath of Secret Wars just wasn't different enough from what had come before to actually be considered a reboot. Yes, characters like Miles Morales were added to the mainline universe. Still, most continuity remained completely intact, and even Miles's new status quo relied upon the fact that he came from a previously dead universe. Good old Jonathan Hickman, always. Guys, I've literally read a lot of stuff from this guy. He is even, you know what's crazy? My friend James, he likes that guy too. It's like he's just setting stuff up for the future. It's like, James, you become one of them. Don't be one of those guys, those readers. He's setting up everything. Oh no. So much setup, and I need a big payoff.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing though. You need to read a whole run from him. You have to, because then you will know what they're talking about. I'm dead serious. Like
he's the guy where you only buy shit for omnibus. There's no way I would buy shit from his single trade.
If you read, I would suggest read his Fantastic Four run. Try it, dude, because you can get them cheap, and they're not as big as his other ones, like, you know, the Avengers, like, which are each like
House of X
big.
and all that stuff. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's about the size of the first Fantastic Four one. Read that, dude. You'll see what people are talking about, because he does a setup, but the payoff is amazing, and the battles and the fights are epic, dude. They're huge, and he'll set up for, like, it'll seem like, oh man, there's so much setup. It'll be like 4 books, but then you'll get like 10 straight books of payoff, and all of this stuff happens. And he is one of the best at culminating a giant event into something. He does it very well. There's a reason why there's a reason why all these people are saying that.
I agree. Yeah. Marvel needs to be stronger in their resolution to reboot the universe. I mean, even the MCU might be using their Secret Wars movies to soft reboot the MCU, which is, I mean, definitely needed given how many fucking how much they've written themselves into a shithole. They need to be able to definitively change things for an ever-changing world of readers and fans. Without a major overhaul of the way that the Marvel Comics world works and operates, the medium of comic books might unfortunately be overshadowed by adaptations like television and film. Fun fact, that's always been the case. That's not a new revolutionary take at all. TVs and film have more impact than comic books. Next you're going to tell me the fucking moon is, next you're going to tell me that the earth is flat, or we didn't land on the moon, or that the ocean isn't blue, or the sky isn't fucking blue either. What else you going to tell me next? Simplicity is the key to longevity. That's how I have sex with my wife. You simply do foreplay longer and you eat her out, and then she blows her load. Marvel needs to really start to explore the possibility of a full reboot. Yeah, how about no? So if they ever did that, they would basically just be telling you, hey, yeah, I know all those years you invested into our books. Yeah, fun fact, a lot of those are fucking useless. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
It's too late now. If they ever wanted to do a reboot, they would have had to have done it at the very latest when DC had the New 52 starting. If we're being honest here, with the all new, all different Marvel.
Well, if they could have did it with the Secret Wars instead of it just being, the soft reboot. I hate hearing that. Like, it wasn't a reboot. It just changed the dynamic of the Marvel universe. That's all it did. It wasn't. They didn't reboot anything. It's that's just what they need something. They need something that is going to interest readers, and that's the only thing I can personally think of. But what do I know? I've only been reading comics for 35 years, 36.
Yeah, what do we know? We're just two white guys just talking. Crazy. But yeah, man, closing thoughts and opinions on Marvel Comics needing a reboot.
I just don't think they need a full reboot. They just need to put some good writers on good characters. And that's with having a large crossover event that includes everybody, that would also give writers a chance to try a different book. Because you could say, hey, this guy's going to write this section. And if he does well with that character, then oh, he did well with them. We should probably have him on that book. And you'd find your new creative teams.
Yeah, that's what all they have to do. It's just what DC learned with All In. Just get new creative teams. If a run for a character is going bad and the sales aren't there, literally just get new people. First of all, people say, but they have contracts. Contracts mostly favor the damn studio that writes them. They could easily get out of them if they really wanted to. We know it's happened for many, many professions as we've seen throughout life.
But I believe, like, when they do their contracts, I believe they're independent contractors to,
it's like commission work
to the company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can commission you. Like, that just because I don't know if it says like you are writing 12 issues of the mainline Spider-Man. It might be you are commissioned for 12 Spider-Man books. I don't know for a fact. I could be talking out of my ass,
which is what I usually talk out of.
Right. So, so I believe I've heard that before. So I believe your invisible wife told me that one.
Oh, wow. Now he's roasting me. Crazy. But yeah, as you guys know from my closing thoughts and opinions on this, I think it's just too late for them to have a complete full reboot. It would be one of those things where you would probably hear mainstream media news talk about it to the point where you would have so many people give up on Marvel. What you need to do is what you said. Massive event where certain events of the past, not saying they didn't happen, but do it kind of like what Crisis did. Events happen, but this is the new way moving forward. Just do that. And why do Marvel and DC do this? You don't have to hamstring yourself to insanely bad writers and artists. You could get new people. Keep in mind, guys, these are the big two. People are literally lining at the door to work for them. They have no shortage of people, especially talented people, ready to work for them. I don't know why they ever subject themselves to bad people. That shouldn't be a thing at all, for being honest here.
No. Yep. I agree. 100%. So, I agree with that. Yes.
What the heck? Like, who would not going to be like, go work for Marvel? Sounds good. Sign me up. Yeah. In New York, the problem with working for them is essentially like if you live in the area, that's where it becomes a problem. But they have access to a lot of people, guys. Dan Mora, come on.
Well, a lot of them, like some, they don't even live in the area anymore. With the internet and pages, and especially artists now. Like if you look at I think we were talking about this like the other week with like Jason Fabok doing Rook Exodus. Like that dude, you look at that book is beautiful. You know what I mean? And you look at it and he does it in his freaking like side room, you know, in his house. So it's like there's ways to get around that stuff.
Yeah. So thank you guys for checking out this video. If you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. I'm MSK, aka Master Swag King. We're going to sign out, guys. See you guys later. Peace.